All right, so this is your math lesson for Tuesday, December 12th, 2023. I am your teacher, Miss Smith, and my email, forgot my email, is tsmith@lsoa.org, and my number is 682-777-9474. So let's get this party started. Your warm-up is Joseph bought 22 bags of green apples, and there are 8 apples in each bag. How many apples did Joseph buy? So go ahead, pause this recording, and solve the problem, and then we will be back to work through it together. Okay, pause, guys. All right, I'll pause. All right, did you solve it? All right, let's start working through it. So we know that Joseph bought 22 bags of green apples. There are 8 apples in each bag. How many bags did we want? How many apples did Joseph buy? So we want to find that total amount of apples that our friend Joseph bought. Now, there are some important keywords that we can use to help us identify the total. Did you find the keyword? Yes, no, let me hear. Let me see. I'm back. I'm hearing someone yell each. Yes, it is each. So when we see that word each, when we hear that word each, what is that word each telling us what to do? Is it telling us to add, subtract, multiply, divide? Is it telling us to stand on our heads and like do cartwheels? What is it telling us to do? Yes, it's telling us to multiply. Great job, my friends. You guys are so smart whenever y'all aren't in class. Like, y'all are just like knocking it out of the ballpark. Yes, so that word each is telling us to multiply because it's telling us there are equal groups. That means bag 1 has 8 apples in it. Bag 2 has 8 apples in it. Every single bag. Every single one of those 22 bags. I'm not going to go through all of those bags. All of those bags have 8 apples in it. It doesn't matter which bag it is. There are going to be 8 apples. So when we see that word each, we know we're going to multiply. Now, we can, I'm going to change my shoes. Sorry, guys. We can, when, I'm not going to re-record this. I re-recorded this like 4 times already. When we are multiplying, what are we multiplying? Yes, we are multiplying 22 times 8. Times 8. Now, you might be like, Miss Smith, well, that's a big number. I'm not comfortable with that. We all know how Miss Smith feels about large numbers. And that's not my biggest, I get a little nervous. We all know that. My hands start to shake. I get a little sweaty. I start to cry. I might just go over here and just cry for a little bit. Big number, 22 times 8. Like, guys, come on. But what could we do? What strategies can we use? Like, we have a toolbox full of strategies. What strategies did you use? Okay, so I heard someone say, I use partial products. Ooh. What? Partial products? Yeah, we could use that. What? I heard someone say, I just use standard algorithm. Holla, yeah, we could use standard algorithm. Totally. What? Repeated addition? Yeah, you could use repeated addition. Now, and I'm not saying that is not a valid strategy, because it is. The only thing I'm going to caution you with when using repeated addition, especially when we are going to be adding 8 22 times, it can be a lot of adding 8s. Like that 22 8s. You can get lost in the 8s. So if you're going to use repeated addition, make sure you don't get lost. Miss Smith is going to get lost after like adding 4 8s. But standard algorithm, totally cool. Partial products, yeah, totally. So let's do that. Now, and I'm going to grab my shape. Excuse me. I'm going to break this up. Clear it out. I did that wrong. We're going to try this one more time. And if that doesn't work, I'll just draw a rectangle. Nope. There we go. That's what I wanted. And then I wanted this. There we go. And I'll just draw my square. So when we're doing partial products, remember, we're making that number, that 22, a little bit friendlier for us to use. Remember, like, it's going to start crying, and, and for all of you artists, let's just pretend Miss Smith can draw a straight line, okay? Stop laughing. That's better. So how are we going to make 22 a little bit friendlier? So we're asking ourselves, how many groups of 10 are in 22? How many ones are in 22? And that's how we're going to make 22 just a smidge-a-doodle friendlier. Let me hear. So here we go. I have my 22. I have my 22. Yeah, you see it? All right, so I have 2 groups of 10, 10, 20, and how many ones? 1, 2. So how many groups of 10 are in 22? So I have 2 groups of 10. When we break that apart, remember, when we're making that number friendly, we're just writing it in expanded form. So we have 10, 20, and how many ones? 1, 2. Now, remember, when we are making this friendly, we're adding them together because we need to make it 22. So 20 plus 2 equals 22. So let's put that in our partial product box. We're on top of our partial product box. 20. Make sure you're putting your addition sign so you remember what you're doing, plus 2. Now, what are we doing with that 8? Are we adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? We are multiplying. Correctamundo. So we're going to multiply 20 plus 2 times 8. I'm just going to put my times, and then we're using that 8. Times 8. Now that we have that information, we've made 22 into a little bit friendlier numbers, we can now go down and fill in our boxes. So we have 20 times 8. 20 times 8. If you want to see it horizontally, that's what it looks like. Or if you want to see it vertically, 20 times 8. And then we have 2 times 8. 2 times 8. So let's start with the 20 times 8. Now, for Miss Smith, it's easier for Miss Smith to see it vertically. That's how my brain works. I need to see it vertically. Now, we know when we are doing standard algorithm, 0 is our hero. 0 times 8 is 0. I'm going to change my pen color just so that I can follow along. 0 times 8 is 0. And then we go down. And then we go across. 8 times 2 is, if we don't have that automaticity, we can count by 2's 8 times. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. 8 times 2 is 16. So 20 times 8 is 16. Now, it would be helpful if I wrote that a little bit bigger, 16. So 20 times 8 is 160. Now, one of those things that Rayanne was explaining to us was we can just look at 2 times 8, that's 16, and then just bring down our 0, and we get 160 also. That works too. If your brain works like that horizontally, wrote horizontally, that works. You just have to remember to bring down the 0. Now let's do our right column. 8 times 2, it's the same thing. We just did that. It is 16. Now remember, we have to add these two numbers. So 116 plus 16. Put those two together. 160 plus 16. I just said 116. 160 plus 16. 0 plus 6 is, remember, we're adding, not multiplying. 0 plus 6 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. And 1 plus 0 is 1. So we have 176. Now, let's just check and see if we get the same answer using standard algorithm. Remember, with standard algorithm, we go down, and then we'll go across. 2 times 8 is, we just did that, it's 16. We put the 6 in the 1, carry our 1. 8 times 2, remember, we're going across. 8 times 2 is still at 16. 16 plus 1 is 17. Very good. So 22 times 8 is 176. Did we get the same answer using standard algorithm and partial product? Yes. Remember, these two methods are just tools that you can use in your toolbox, your multiplication toolbox for 2-digit times 1-digit. The more you use these methods, the easier they become. You can switch them up. Sometimes it's going to be easier to use standard algorithm. Other times it might be easier to use partial product. Sometimes you might just only ever feel comfortable using partial product, and that's cool. Whatever you feel most comfortable using, you use that, but you use it with confidence, okay? All right, kiddos, let's continue on. Okay, so today we're going to use strategies that we've learned to solve multiplication problems. Why are we doing this? Great question. We're doing this so we can multiply a 2-digit by 1-digit number. We know we've got it. We can multiply 2-digit by 1-digit numbers and prove our answers. When we're proving it, we can explain it and explain why we got it. Our vocabulary words for today are factor. Factors are simply just the numbers being multiplied in a multiplication problem. Partial product, it's just a method of finding the product of two numbers in which we break the numbers into smaller parts, just into friendlier numbers. Product, the answer to a multiplication problem, and standard algorithm. A standard algorithm is the steps to solve a math problem. It's just the old school way. So let's use partial product and standard algorithm to solve this multiplication problem. So right now you're just watching me. You get to watch me. Aren't you excited? Watch me solve 48 times 8. Now, you know how I feel about these. I get a little nervous again, especially like when we get to these bigger numbers, and then it's like 8 times. I'm like, blah, blah, no, thank you, my friend. And we know a lot of that has to do with Miss learning disability in math. When I see these things, I have to rely on my strategies, my toolbox. So that's why it is so important for Miss Smith to let you know how. That's why it's so important. That's why Yeah, that's why it's so important. It's the end of the day, isn't it? We've taught math a whole lot today. That's why it's so important that you have your own math toolbox, because you might never worry about math. And that's great. I'm like cheering you on if you never worry about math. But if you do and you don't have a math toolbox, what are you going to do? When I was your age, I didn't have a math toolbox. I just sat there and cried. But now I have one. And so, yeah, I get a little nervous. I get a little stressed out sometimes. But I know I have my toolbox that I can always go to and I can always rely on. So let's get this party started. So we have 48 times 8, and we're going to use both the standard algorithm and our partial product. So we're breaking that 48 times 8 into friendlier numbers. And I've already done that just to make my life a little bit easier. So when we're breaking that 48 times 8 into friendlier numbers, we're breaking it apart into expanded form. We're asking ourselves, how many groups of 10 are in 40, and how many groups of 10 are in 48, and how many ones are in 48? So there are 4 groups of 10. If we count by tens 4 times, 10, 20, 30, 40. And how many ones? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We get 40 plus 8. And then what are we doing with that 40 plus 8? Well, Ms. Smith, we are multiplying 40 plus 8. So now that we have all of that, we can create our problems inside of our boxes. I made that a little bit bigger. I need to make it a bit smaller. So we have 40. And like I said, in my brain, I need to see it vertically. But if you can see it horizontally, that's great. But like I said, in my brain, I need to see it vertically, but I'll show it both ways. So 40 times 8. But I'll also do 40 times 8. So now we know 0 times 8, 0 is our hero. We're going to start with the vertical one. 8 times 0, 0 is our hero. 0. I'm going to change that pen color. 0. And then we go down, and then we go across. Go across. 8 times 4. 8 times 4 is... Am I here? Can I hear? If you have that automaticity, you might already know this. You don't, you could add 8 4 times. You could add 4 8 times. But 8 times 4 is 32. Now, thinking back to how Rayanne shared how she got hers, remember she just kind of, because she did it horizontally, she just looked at 4 times 8. She knew that was 32. And then, ooh, that 2 looks wonky. That's 2. And then she just brought her 0 down. So 320. Both ways work. You just have to remember to bring that 0 down. And then we have 8 times 8. Now, 8 times 8. You might have that automaticity. You know 8 times 8. If you don't, you could add 8 times. So there's always that strategy. Hang on, the dog's about to start. Okay, we're good. If you have that automaticity, that's great. If you don't, there are strategies to get the answer if you don't have the automaticity for it. 8 times 8 is 64. Once we have the answer for 40 times 8 and 8 times 8, remember we need to add them together. So 320 320 plus 64. And change up my pen color. 0 times 4 is 4. 2 times 2 plus 6. Did I say 0? 0 plus 4 is 4. 2 plus 6 is 8. And 3 plus 0 is 3. So we have 320 plus 64 is 384. Now let's do the standard algorithm. Remember, we're going to go down and then across. 8 times 8, we have that answer right here. That's 64. We're going to put the 4 in the ones column and then carry the 6. Then we go across. 8 times 4. 8 times 4 is 32. 32 plus 6 is 38. Did we get the same answer in using both the standard algorithm and the partial product way? Yes, we did. Great job, my friends. So when you are going through this, you're going to see, when you're going through this, you're going to see the answer slide on after you work through this, just so that you can check your work. So just so you know it's there. All right, you're going to work through this problem. 46 times 4. So you should have paused that. Then you're going to solve this word problem. A softball team played 5 tournaments last year. The team paid $45 to play in each tournament. What is the total amount the softball team paid to play in these 5 tournaments? So you are going to use the standard algorithm method plus partial product method to solve this problem. Pause and solve the problem. Now that that problem is solved, solve this problem as well. The members of a gym use 131 towels every day. How many towels are used in 6 days? You're going to create the multiplication problem. So it's not, I'm not giving you anything for this one. You have to create your own standard algorithm. And then after you create the standard algorithm, then you can create the partial product and then solve. Then pause to solve. And then you get to go to your exit ticket. So Latricia went to the store to buy strawberries. She bought 38 cartons of strawberries. Each carton has 9 strawberries inside. How many strawberries did Latricia purchase? Show your work, my friends. Show it. Then circle the answer. Yay! Don't forget to work on zapping your overdues and unmastered math lessons before Friday. Okie dokie artichokes. So work through this math lesson and I will see you tomorrow, my friends. And you have an ELA recording in Nearpod to work through as well. Love you all. Hasta la pasta. Bye.